But I'm going to bring more comedy right on up. This guy was nice enough to do the very first cable comedy show with me. As a matter of fact, he was the very first comedian. No, were you the first, Fred? Or was Brian Kiley? Brian Kiley was up here, is going to be the first. Freddie was the second. And Fred the second, you know, it's kind of a thing that they do with kings. And he's one of the kings of comedy, and he's here for your enjoyment right now. He won the Stitches Comedy Riot last year. Please, a nice round of applause for the comedy of Fred.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I live in Boston. I'm not from Boston. I grew up in Maine. You know, Maine's a wonderful state. They've got a lot of wholesome and hardworking, honest people up there. You know, they asked me to leave. I've been down in Boston for a while, staying at different people's places. I stayed at my brother's apartment for a while. He had fleas. It's a real drag because we had to walk around with these little collars on all the time. You know. It was strange living at home. I always had, you know, the impression that my parents didn't want me because, like, when I was 3, my father threw me in the ocean and he said, "Swim." Fortunately, we were only a couple days out of port. You know. Never had a pet when I was a kid. You know. Well, actually, I had one pet. I had a pet snowman. I don't like to talk about it. You know. It wet the bed. Never got any really good toys. One year I got a set of mental blocks. I forget how I used to play with them. I want to do some impressions for you. Do you like impressions?
Yeah.
Oh, good. This first one's an impression of me. Hold on, I didn't do it yet. This is an impression of me with my face pressed up against a piece of glass. It's as good as it's going to get. Here's another one. This is an old impression. This is Sir Isaac Newton. Ow! Damn it! There ought to be a law. A lot of people tell me it sounds just like him. I know what you're thinking, though. You're thinking this guy does an impression of himself. He does Isaac Newton. This guy does everybody. Well, you're right. Okay, this is my impression of everybody. I could go on with this all night. As only on the A's. Living at home, my parents, they always used to force me to shovel the driveway after every storm. Let me tell you, it's worse in the winter. Especially for me, because we lived on a houseboat. When I was 15, I quit school and I ran away from home on the advice of my guidance counselor. I had to leave. I just couldn't put up with it anymore. I mean, they used to hire Jack Nicholson to babysit for me. You know, one day I came in and he looked at me and he went like this. He goes, he says, "Hey, kid, Did you ever play Russian roulette before? With an automatic? You go first. One of the few games I ever won. I'm going to have to be going. I want to leave you with one final thought. It's about drinking and driving. You know, it's not a cool idea to drink and drive. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it. I don't understand why the tea shuts down before the bars close, but you know, it doesn't make sense. But it's not a cool idea to drink and drive. I mean, I speak from experience because my entire family was wiped out by drunk drivers. They just broke in one night and bludgeoned them to death. But it's not a cool idea to drink and drive. So if you're out drinking at night sometime and you got your cars with you, I want you to please take your time and I want you to walk your cars home. Thank you. Good night.
That's Simply Fred. Simply Fred. Thanks, Freddie.